The Purge.
The Purge.
The Purge. You hear the sirens? We're a little late to this news because we haven't filmed one of these.
Yeah.
But Ethereum, well, there's two merges that we need to talk about.
Okay.
One of them's old news and one of them's newish news. First one being about the Ethereum Merge.
Oh, I heard about this.
Big deal a couple weeks ago. And so the merge refers to the original Ethereum mainnet merging with a separate proof-of-stake blockchain called the Beacon Chain.
Mm-hmm.
Now existing as one chain, the merge reduced Ethereum's energy consumption by 99.95%.
That's incredible.
And the big knock on it was always the sustainability piece of it, right?
Yeah.
That it just...
Because it was a proof of work.
Yeah. And it just consumes too much energy.
Yeah.
And so environmentalists are just like crapping on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay.
Problem
solved.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I know there's people that, for obvious reasons want to knock it no matter what, but it's sounding like it's paving the way for a lot of stuff. It says here, the merge is done, opening a new era for the second biggest blockchain. Because now that they've merged.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I think there's a lot of, we're working with some layer 2 projects. And so now I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I know energy was one issue, and then gas fees.
I was going to say, does it bring those down
it's
too?
It's supposed to. I haven't heard of it changing yet.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard anything, but it's supposed to be in theory. Yeah, it's like the top question. So the short answer is no, I guess. The merge will not lower gas fees. There's nothing built into the technical upgrades of the merge that is specifically meant to lower fees. So they need to
that's that. Next. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll resolve.
Yeah. I guess my prediction is that when you can exchange crypto for less than Visa and MasterCard take to, what is it, like 1 to 2 or 3%? Like it's that right in there. But when you can get crypto down to that level, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for real. And it's all dependent on the congestion and time of day and all that stuff, right? Which is weird, and you never know. But I've heard of projects, people like just losing their butts on fees when they've done like DAOs or something like that. Like they're going in on something together, and so your contribution might only be like $100 into the greater thing, whatever it is you're trying to get as a community, and then the gas fee is just like a killer, like a complete killer.
Yeah,
and you don't get that money back.
I was gonna say, because for that, you put the money in and then you got to pull it back out later if you want it, and then
I remember when I minted sort of our first NFTs when that whole thing was a thing, like
what were they? Monitos?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a whole 80s cult.
Yeah. It's still out there, right?
It's out there on Rarible.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I remember trying to give some away.
Mm-hmm.
And the gas fees to just do that were crazy. And I remember not giving them away.
Mm-hmm.
It was just too much. And we were valuing them at like $15 at the time.
Yeah.
And the gas fees were higher than the actual NFT was worth.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy. But we'll see. We'll see what this means. NFTs is a big one. A lot of platforms built on Ethereum for NFTs, but we'll see. And what's the other big?
Oh, the other big merge news. Figma was acquired by Adobe.
For how much?
RIP.
RIP.
$20 billion. And people lost their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody lost their minds. Figma users lost their minds because they know full well what happens when Adobe buys you. It's never really a good thing, unfortunately. Second, Adobe people freaked out because for whatever reason, they freaked out. Stock dropped,
15%.
15% in a day.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, Adobe people didn't want Figma to come in. And then the investor community and just, I mean, it was on the front page of Wall Street Journal talking about it. And people were like, what is this company? Like no one had ever heard, I mean, outside of design people,
Right.
no one had ever heard of Figma. And they were like being like, you could have bought Panasonic or you could have bought like all these other companies that you would know of that are huge. They're like, you could have bought those, but instead Adobe paid $20 billion for a company no one's ever heard of. Is sort of what they were saying.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting thing. So a lot of people were scratching their heads like, I didn't know about this company. Why is it worth this much?
But us in the industry
yes,
know the value of Figma.
Well, exactly.
And where trend was moving.
Well, what was funny when the deal was first announced, for whatever reason, I didn't hear the amount. And everyone was just sort of like, it got sold. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, what should it have gone for? And in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking of like how Facebook bought Oculus for $2 billion. Bought Instagram for $1 billion. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, I was thinking maybe they got it up to 5, maybe 6, if you know. And I just thinking like, oh, just dumb move if they did that. And then I hear this $20 billion, and I'm like, holy crap! I mean, their
biggest purchase ever, right?
For
an acquisition.
No, there's other big ones, but in terms of Adobe, it's the hugest, and I think in that industry. I mean, but I think what's crazy is the valuation on the company prior to it was like $10 billion.
Yeah.
Which is already high.
They paid a premium for it.
So of course we don't know, and we'll find out later, but I think our gut sort of tells us, or my gut tells me that the Figma people knew what they had. For and sure. They were sort of like, they were playing hardball.
I bet you people at Adobe used Figma.
I bet you're right. I bet you're right.
I bet you they did.
Right. Yeah.
We're like, why can't we do this? Because the XD was kind of like, you know.
It was just a Me Too product.
Yeah. It just didn't get there.
No.
And Figma just figured it out, right? The collaboration piece and the cloud thing is just, it's like none other, right?
Yeah.
It's transformed the way we work at Sidebox completely. I'm sure there's thousands of companies and startups and agencies that have experienced the same thing. Just moving away from Adobe into something like Figma or into Figma. Just completely transformed the way we work. It's efficient. We don't have files.
Right.
It's collaborative. In fact, that's the one bill when it comes in, and it's very expensive for us because we have almost 30 users on it, that I don't flinch at. But when that Adobe Creative Cloud bill comes in, man, does that hurt.
And it's
I always question why we still...
And we don't even have as many licenses for that.
And I just question why we still have it.
Right.
Like, is there a way to get out of it? And now everything's getting pulled in.
Yeah.
So I just have a feeling they're going to add it eventually to the Creative Cloud.
Yeah.
As part of their offering.
Well, keep in mind, there's that whole 5-year vesting that typically will happen, right? So sometimes it's like 3, but most of the time it's 5. So give Figma 5 years, and then it'll just be another icon on the Creative Cloud.
Until then, pay for both.
Yeah,
keep paying.
Pay for both. Enjoy it while you can. I am curious to see how Adobe because it's obvious in a lot of ways how Figma was a leap forward, right? It wasn't sort of this iterative, we're just going to add another feature, or we're going to add another panel to Illustrator and call it a day. So it'll be interesting to see, because I know Adobe tried to create sort of this collaborative thing, the same thing that Figma is doing, but they required you to be on Adobe Cloud to do it. So you had to save your files on the Adobe, your Creative Drive or Creative Cloud Drive or whatever they call it. And so they were like, well, if you save it there and then you do this other sort of thing and other people open it at the same time as you, you can sort of do this collaborative thing. Which is
Too much friction.
It's too much friction. So, and all the while Adobe's been, or Figma's been doing this, Adobe's been totally distracted by Canva and by porting over like Photoshop to iPad, which I'm guessing is kind of a good thing. I just don't, as a professional, I don't think that makes sense. I think they're going after like the prosumer kind of segment, like the hobbyists maybe.
They're not out there buying iPad Pros, I'll tell you that.
I don't know who that niche is,
It's
but
super
maybe
weird.
it's big. Who knows? But now Canva is going to be the next thing.
Although there's
Yeah.
rumors that a deal like that might not be good.
Yeah. I don't think
Might
it would
get
be.
approved
Yeah.
because of the whole monopoly thing. Right?
Yeah.
Because then who's competing at that point?
Nobody.
They would just land grab the whole industry.
Yeah. I mean, Adobe already has so much of the market.
Yeah, but Canva's definitely, they're looking at them.
Yeah. Well, Canva's getting after it.
Man, I saw Canva landing page the other day. Somebody linked to it from LinkedIn, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I clicked on it and I was like, this is interesting. And then it had in the footer, made in Canva.
Yeah.
So now they're letting you build landing pages, pitch decks, pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Right?
And they
not
have
for the non-designer.
Right. And then they have now that they're bringing in the Figma like collaboration real time thing. So you can be able to build in real time.
Yeah, they're going to come after them.
Yeah. I have
sure.
You know what I think? I'm just going to throw this out there. You know what I think really did it for Adobe? Like the point of no return for getting Figma was Fig Jam.
You think so?
I think so, because there's another tool out there. I can't remember the name of it, but I mean they're advertising. You see commercials, and it's it's just basically Fig Jam. What is it called? Well, I'll post it here when I can find it. But the idea here is the idea was it was just sort of a collaborative brainstorming tool, but it was getting real traction. And I have a feeling like Adobe was like, okay, the design thing, yeah, whatever. That's for designers and UI people, but this dang collaborative, whiteboarding tool, I think that was the final thing, because they're like, Adobe's like, we're just going to miss out.
Yeah, and I mean, we used Lucid for a little bit,
Yeah.
Lucid chart, and it just felt clunky.
Super
Right?
clunky, yeah. Yeah. Even just like setting up an area to work in, it was like, you had to like set a size. This is dumb. Like just antiquated approach. Too many options.
Yeah.
Fig Jam's like, here you got squares, circles, triangles. You got about 8 colors to choose
That's it.
from. 3 type sizes.
Yep.
So, and then they make it fun, right? Because you can chat with people while you're doing it. So, it's really smart.
And for those of you that don't know, in Figma, the chat command,
Yeah, what is
/
it?
it's my favorite feature,
Yes.
because half the time, most of our team didn't know, obviously. Of course, Luis was the
Yes.
one, right, that knew.
Yes, our savant.
And then you get slacked. How did you do that? How did you do that? You're like, hit the / and start typing.
Yeah.
And now, when you're in there, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's
It's almost like an Easter egg.
Yeah, it is
They
a bit of an
They need
Easter
to throw
egg.
that out there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Designer Humor on Instagram posted today.
Mm.
Google search cracked version of Adobe Figma CC 2022. A search
They're searching for it.
for cracked version of Adobe Figma
They're trying to crack.
CC 2022.
Trying to crack it.
Crack it. Remember those days?
Dude,
Oh
yes.
my god. That's why part of me is like, whatever, they've gotten their money back and some
Oh,
from
yeah.
us for all the early years, man, when we would bootleg that stuff.
You know what's crazy is like there was at the time when all that stuff came out, it was a, how do I put this? Like it was hard to get into design simply because Adobe was so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, I have to buy the machine. I'm probably going to spend $2,000 on the machine, but to own a license to Adobe Creative Suite was like $2,500 for software. And so people were like, for discs, for CD-ROMs, you know? And so people would be like, nah. And so people couldn't get into design. And, you know, it's like, it was just a wall, you know? And then they would have like student pricing. I remember like.
Oh, dude, I used to have student licenses.
Dude,
also.
I want to say like almost like right before I graduated, I went in there and got a license because you could upgrade from that at some point for less. Because to upgrade was like $500, but to buy a license you could get it as a student for like $350. And I know I think I did that right before graduation because I was like, I'm not going to get this chance again, you know?
Yeah.
So, but that was always interesting. And now like you can go on Canva for free and be a designer.
Man, imagine our careers would have taken a different turn had it not been for the Pirate Bay.
Absolutely, man. Dude, I still remember when I was in high school getting, there's this agency called Lotta and Robertson down in El Paso. And they gave me a disc. I remember I went to go visit them. And they gave me a disc of fonts. A, floppy disk.
Yeah.
Or not floppy, but a
CD-ROM?
diskette.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the
Zip?
No. Just like
before that?
I guess a floppy disk, but not the floppy kind, the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And it had all these fonts on it. And I was like, oh.
Gold, right?
Gold.
Yeah.
I use those fonts to death, dude. I remember one of them was like it was like the, like on a bill, like the cash. It was called cash. And it looked like the dollar bill, $1 thing. Dude, I love that. That was so sick. Up till that point, it was like Palatino and Courier. And
Papyrus.
Papyrus. I know what you did.
All right, we'll leave you with Papyrus.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube and type in Papyrus.
We'll put a link in here.
Yeah. All right. See you guys later.
Later. The Papyrus?